Howdy folks, my name is Logan and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. Last week we started a two-part series about improving your user interface in WoW by first looking at the add-on ElvUI. If you missed that video and would like to watch it, you can watch it now by clicking this link on your screen. We covered everything from downloading and configuring ElvUI to importing specific user profiles to use as your own. In today's video, we're going to do the same thing again, but this time we're going to talk about the add-on TellMeWhen. If you don't know what TellMeWhen is, the best and fastest description I can give is that it's a lot like the add-on WeakAuras, but lighter weight and easier to use. WeakAuras and TellMeWhen do very much the same thing, so if you prefer WeakAuras and are already comfortable using it, then by all means use it. The WeakAuras versus TellMeWhen debate of which one is better tracking auras is very similar to the DBM versus bigwigs debate when it comes to boss timers, so it's entirely personal preference. I personally use both WeakAuras and TellMeWhen, but the majority of my aura and cooldown trackers are using TellMeWhen, so that's what we'll be focusing on today. This video is going to follow the same format as last week's ElvUI video. First, I'll show you where and how to download TellMeWhen, then we'll jump in-game and I'll show you how to set up and use TellMeWhen. And then we'll finally cover how to import user profiles, like the ones that I use, from other sources to use as your own. You should be able to find each of these sections linked under the timestamps in the description down below. Because I know most of you will end up skipping around and watching the sections you're interested in as opposed to watching the video to the end, I'm going to plug for myself now rather than later. So, if this video helped you out at all, or if you thought it sucked, let me know by giving the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Also, feel free to jot down your thoughts about the video in the comments section, because I usually try to respond to as many people as possible. And finally, if you want to see more videos like this one, please support the channel by subscribing to Ironstar Gaming by clicking on the subscribe button down below. Now, without further ado, let's jump right in and get started. Okay, so now we are ready to download and install TellMeWhen add-on. And to do that, we're going to follow the same format as we did before when we were downloading ElvUI. But if you didn't do that, I'll walk you through this again. So here you're watching this video, assuming that you're on YouTube. And what I want you to do is I want you to scroll down and where you see Ironstar Gaming, just right-click it and then click Open Link in New Tab. And this will take you to my YouTube channel. So from here, you'll see in the top right corner, you'll see a couple little links. And if you mouse over one of them, it will say Ironstar website. And we're going to click on that and open my website. So now once this loads, and I'm going to close out of the YouTube channel here. Once this loads, this is my website. Still under construction, all that kind of good stuff. And you can read through this, but we're going to go to the Interfaces tab at the top. Right-click Interfaces. And then we're going to scroll down to where it says download these add-ons. And you'll notice with these buttons, it says get Twitch app or get TUC client. So naturally you might be thinking, well, that's not, download TellMeWhen. No, we're downloading the client, which will then allow us to download and manage the add-on. So in this case, we're going to download the Twitch desktop app. This was formerly the Curse app. If you already have this, you don't need to do this part, just ignore what I'm saying here. But if you don't already have the desktop app, click on that and it'll take you to this page right here. Once you're here, you just click download. And this will download the app and then you can save it and install it to wherever you would like to do so. And then once you're done with that, that's it. That's all we're doing here on online. So then you want to open and run the Twitch client. And see, I already have this opened. And if you don't have any add-ons installed or you haven't used the client before, this page will be blank. There will be nothing here. But in my case, obviously I've got a pile of add-ons going. The other thing you may have to do is in the settings for the Twitch client, you may have to scan for an installed game or locate the game so that the client knows where to install the add-ons into your World of Warcraft folder. So just go through and do that stuff, make sure it knows where it's looking. And then to install TellMeWhen, we're going to go to Get More Add-ons and type in TellMeWhen, or whatever you need to, and it's all one word, so TellMeWhen, all one word, and you should see this pop up as the result, TellMeWhen. And then you want to click install. Where mine says installed, you're just going to click install, and then once it's done, you should be able to go back to my add-ons, and it will now be in this list of my add-ons. And then you're done. TellMeWhen is now installed into your add-ons folder for World of Warcraft. So let's get in and let's learn how to use it. Alright folks, so now we have TellMeWhen downloaded, so let's learn how to use it now. And I'm going to log on to a Balance Druid. And if you don't know anything about Balance Druid, don't worry about it being difficult to follow along here. I'm going to break it down so that you should be able to make, your own determinations to make this work for your own class or spec. We're just going to use this as a generic example. So when you first log in after downloading TellMeWhen, you're probably going to see a set of icons in the middle of your screen. These guys right here, and they're all going to be blank. You won't be seeing this stuff, all right? These are different. We're going to talk about them in just a moment. But you see these, and this is your basic editing interface for TellMeWhen. And you can access and close that by typing /TMW into your chat, and then it's closed, or open if you type it again. So this is how we interact with all this stuff and change settings. So the first thing we're going to do, or that I'm going to do, is I'm going to explain to you how this stuff kind of works. And now, just like with every other add-on, there are profiles. And their profiles are specific to, they usually are created by default as soon as you log in on a character for the first time with the add-on. And then you can change them and swap them around and things. So here's a number of my different profiles, and I created this special one, Balance Druid TMW video profile. So that's for this video specifically, so we can go over some stuff. So then you got your profile, and then we have groups. And your group, quite literally, is just a group of icons or bars. And like these here are bars. They're just big timer bars is all they are. But we're going to be mostly dealing with icons in this video. So we have the icon thing selected in the group. So you can create new groups or delete them from this tab here, the group tab. And the default one is going to say, or isn't going to have a name, but you can give it a name. And I've already done that, called Balance Buffs. And we'll just for the sake of it, I'm going to name it Balance Buffs 2. And then you just press enter, and then that name is now saved. And you can create new ones just by clicking New Profile Group and renaming it. And I strongly suggest you give some thought when you're doing all of this stuff, so that you know what you're naming it. It'll make your life way easier down the road when you to keep track of what all you've done and where things are. So then we have our groups, and you can see here, let's create new, and I'm going to say balance dots. So now we have a new group, and here it is. And you can change the size of these things, or the number of icons in each one, just by adjusting the rows and the columns and all that kind of stuff. We're going to leave this, let's make this one 2. So we're going to be putting our dots there later. And I'm going to make this one, we'll leave it at 4. And then that's that. So these groups that we've just created here, this balance buffs and balance dots, are profile groups. These are exclusive to the current profile that we are in, which is this Balance Druid TMW profile. That's where these are. So you won't access these groups from any other profile. However, you can do another thing too, and that's called global groups, and that's what these icons are here. And the reason we see these is because I've created these for my other characters, and this is things like raid buffs and debuffs, important things for Antorus. Here's a thing for tracking Suffuse's internal cooldown and its buff, and then same with heroism, time warp, bloodlust, all those sorts of things, drums. That's what these all track here. So these are the same across every single character on my computer, no matter what server they're on, no matter what role they play. No, they're global. That's literally what they're called. And if you wanted to do something similar, you go to groups down here in this tab, and then you just select new global group. Very simple. You'll hear me saying that a lot throughout this video, I'm guessing. It's very simple, very easy to do. So with all of that stuff, now let's create something. Let's track something. So again, like I said, if you don't know anything about Balance Druid, that's perfectly fine. But we're going to track our lunar and solar empowerments, which we gain from casting Star Surge. Star Surge, you cast a Star Surge, you gain 1 stack of or solar empowerment, and then 1 stack of lunar empowerment, which empower your solar wraths and your lunar strikes. Simple enough. So we want to make sure we know how many stacks we have, how much time's left on each of those stacks, and etc. Because they can only stack up to 3. Don't want to waste those. So I'm going to right click on this first icon here, and we can see we're at the group balance buffs 2 icon 1. That's what we want. So now in this drop down box where it says icon type, we're going to select it and open it up. Now there's a whole pile of stuff here, and this is, I mean, this video could potentially be an hour and a half long, but if I tried to cover lots of stuff, but you're gonna have to figure a lot of it out on your own, unfortunately. But for now, we want to track a buff on ourselves, so we're going to select buff/debuff. And now here we are, we're getting started. Now we get to set it up. So now where it says what to track, I'm going to type in solar empowerment, and then you can see suggestions, and you can just click on that suggestion, and there it is. You can click custom texture and put it in there, but you don't need to. It will figure out the actual icon to show, and it'll show the appropriate solar empowerment icon. Now the unit that it needs to be tracking or looking for this buff is player, and it's player by default. If this were something we're tracking on the target, then we would simply type in, would delete player here and type in target, but we're good as we are. And then here in buff or debuff, it's a buff, so we're going to make sure the buff box is checked. If it were a debuff, like a dot for example, then we would select the debuff checkbox. All of these are good. I like that. Now over here, we want it always showing, so we're not going to check always hide. And now where it says timer sweep, I want it to show the timer, but I don't necessarily want it to show me the actual seconds remaining on it. That's not really super important to me in this particular case. So I'm going to leave that unchecked, and that's it for this. Now we've created our solar empowerment icon. So we're going to do the same thing again for lunar empowerment, just following the exact same steps. Type in lunar empowerment, click that, player, buff, all good, yes, show timer, and we're done. So now let's test it out. So whenever I cast Star Surge on this target here, which I'm going to need to build up some astral power for, but whenever I cast Star Surge, we should see 1 stack of lunar empowerment and 1 stack of solar empowerment. So I'm going to put my dots rolling here, and I'm going to just, like I said, I'm just building up some astral power here. So now here I can cast Star Surge, boom, there they are. I can see exactly the stacks I have. I cast a lunar or a solar wrath, it goes away. I cast lunar strike, and this, well, now we just dropped combat, but it would have shown. Take my word for it, I guess. So let's build up some more astral power here. So now we cast Star Surge. If I cast it again, we have 2 stacks of solar wrath and of solar empowerment and lunar empowerment. Dump them off, and now I know I have no more stacks. I'm not going to risk capping at 3. Easy peasy. So that's that. So now as soon as I drop combat here, we'll open TellMeWhen back up. So now let's track our dots, because I don't really care for, you know, watching it up here in the nameplates or down here on the ElvUI's target frame. So let's go back in here. Oh, it closed again, didn't it? Okay, so, oh my goodness, the dang dots are killing me. Still in combat. Come on, game. There we go. So now I'm going to right-click this icon here. Remember, this is the other group that we created. This is balanced dots. And I'm going to go here, back to the same exact like format we just did, buff and debuff. Now I'm going to go what to track. Now I'm going to track Sunfire. Select this guy. But now where it says who to watch, now we need to change this to the target, because we're not watching for Sunfire on ourselves. We want to watch it on the target. Select target, all good. Buff or debuff, not a buff, it's a debuff. Now here also, because there can be other druids in the group, or, well, just other druids who might also be casting Sunfire, if I don't select only cast by me, it'll track their dot as well, the dot from them as well on the target. So I want to make sure this is only tracking my Sunfire. So I check that. Now this time I do want to show timer text. So now it's going to show me the actual seconds remaining. All right, now we're going to do the same, so that's good here. So we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to go to track our Moonfire. Moonfire, There we go. So I'm gonna track target. It's a debuff, only cast by me. Show timer text. Now we're tracking Moonfire. I'm gonna make these a little bigger so they're easier to see. Type /TellMeWhen or /TMW. And now you can see here are my dots. And I can refresh them and they keep going up in the duration. Just like that. Alright? Once again, easy peasy. That's all there is to it, to tracking your dots and things. Let's take a look at tracking cooldowns now, though. And this is an interesting one. Oh, we're going to be stuck in combat here again, I'm telling you. So let's try and get out of here. All right. So let's say we want to track our main cooldown, Incarnation Chosen of Elune. And this is a talent, but it really doesn't matter. So we're going to track it on this icon. So let's go spell cooldown. Let's go Incarnation Chosen of Elune, and you have to make sure you select the right one in this particular case. Chosen of Elune. All right. So now here where it says, you know, if it's ready, the icon's gonna show up. But if it's not ready, you can change the opacity. Here we go. You can change the opacity so that you can actually see how much time is remaining until it is ready without totally hindering your view through the icon. So I'm gonna set it at 35%. Now we're gonna go back over here, show timer. I want to see the timer text again. And that's fine and dandy. And now it'll work just like you would think it will. Something else I want to do, though. I want to make sure I really see whenever this comes off of cooldown. So whenever the opacity changes and it becomes visible, I want to make sure, I'm going to make the icon light up. I'm going to animate it. So here we can go to notifications. And now I'm going to go animation. Now I want to say, and then here where it's under the timer, you can read the tooltips here. So timer on start, this is the trigger that will trigger the animation to occur. Event triggers when the cooldown becomes unusable, or the event triggers when the cooldown becomes usable. So I want to do it here on finish. Now I'm going to select activation border, and you can choose whichever of these really floats your boat. And this is what we're going to see. It's just going to light up. And I want to make this show up for, let's say, 1.4 seconds. So as soon as this becomes usable, this is going to light up for 1.4 seconds to really make sure I see it. Okay? Just like that. Now I could show you all of this, but then we'd have to wait another 3 minutes. So just take my word for it for the time being. And that's how you track cooldowns. But let's track another one. Let's create a new group. We're going to track the Balanced Druid artifact ability for the moon casts. So we're going to make a new profile group, and we're going to name it. Let's just name it Artifact. Artifact Ability. That'll work. Now, this one's interesting because the Artifact Ability, if you know about Balanced Druids, is one button, but it changes, it cycles between new moon, half moon, and full moon. So, do we need 3 icons to track each of them here? The answer is no. We're actually going to track it with 1 icon. Alright? So, let's right-click this, make sure we're in the correct thing here, so good there. Now I'm going to go up here again to spell cooldown, and I'm going to type in new moon, suggesting it here, and you can see whenever you click on it, and you can type this out too, it automatically puts a semicolon at the end of it. And the reason it puts a semicolon there is because now we can also type half moon, puts a semicolon in, and full moon. Oops, full moon. Oh my goodness. Full moon, there we go. So now it's tracking all 3 of these things. And because the ability can only be one of the 3 at a time, it'll work just the same way that the spell button does on your action bars. Now for this, where a custom texture is, you have to leave this blank in this case. If you put a custom texture there, it'll show the same exact icon at all times, no matter which of these is active. But if you leave it empty, it'll dynamically adjust as the ability adjusts as well. So I'm going to do the same thing here with ready and not ready. So when it's ready, I'll be able to see it plain as day. When it's not ready, when I've used all 3 charges, it will show at 35% opacity. Show timer text, and let's just leave it go right there. See, notifications, good enough. So let's close this out now. We should be ready to go. Oh, Now, okay, so here's something that bothers me, and we should cover right now. So you'll notice that immediately just showed up on my screen. If we go back to group, there's a button here called Only Show in Combat. Now, check that box, close out TellMeWhen, and there it doesn't show. So as soon as I enter combat, that icon will appear. So let's enter combat here with a Solar Wrath. Now we're in combat. Cast a half moon, changes to full moon. Cast a full moon, changes to new moon. Cast a new moon. Now all 3 charges are used, and it's on cooldown at 35% opacity. And here we can see our incarnation as well. Well, now we dropped combat. All right, so we might as well use that. So let's, so there we go. Now we've used it. And that's it. So now whenever this 3 minutes comes back up again, we'll be able to see whenever it is available and ready to rock and roll again once more. So that's that. That's pretty much the gist. Those are like the 2 main basics of everything you need to know about TellMeWhen. Honestly, that's pretty much the main show. But there's something a little bit fancier you can do, which I do all the time. So I'm just gonna open this window here, and I'm gonna go to group. I'm gonna create a new group, and I'm gonna name that group Meta or Metas. And the reason we're doing that is, I'm going to make these pretty big too, a 4x4 grid, that'll be nice. Bring it up here. The reason we're doing that is because whenever you create an icon, one of the options in this icon type thing is called meta icons. And if you read a tooltip, it just says combines multiple icons into one. Well, it means exactly what it says it means. So what we can do with that, so if we up here in this thing here, well, the reason we're doing this is we're going to create the icons and then have them not show ever, so they're always going to be hidden. But then we're going to create a meta icon down here, and it's going to look at the conditions and whatever these icons are checking for, and then show them into one icon. So let's do that. So let's show the buff that we gained from incarnation. So let's buff incarnation, chosen a balloon, show timer text, always hide. This needs to be always hidden up here or you will see it. Only cast by me, doesn't matter. So we're going to leave it right there at that. So that's it, right? Yep, looks good. Yeah, so now I'm actually also going to drag this up here because we're going to be combining these 2 things. So if I right click our cooldown here for incarnation, you can see me dragging it now. I'm going to bring it up here to this icon and drop it. And then I'm going to select move here. So it left that group and is now in the meta group. Now because I did move it, now we also need to go back in and remember to check always hide so that it doesn't show up here. So we're good there now. So with those created, let's click this icon. So now we're editing this icon down here again in the balance buffs group. Icon type, meta icon. Now this is important here. So we're going to select these the icon we want it to track in the order. So you go ahead and choose a group, find what you want to track. The order of these is very important. If both icons are visible at the same time, it's going to show the one at the top of the list. So it's just like an order of precedence type of thing. And we want our buff to be first. And then we want to go and do the same thing, and now we want it to track the cooldown later. Because it's always going to be showing something for the cooldown, either at 100% opacity or 35% opacity. So we wanted to make sure that it shows the buff by order of priority first. And then that's it. So we can check these here, icon 1, icon 2 from the metas. Good. Close this out, and this should be ready to go now. So to recap what we did there, we just combined 2 icons and put it into one to try and save space on our screen, make things more organized, so we can follow it along better. And there it's already showing up. Cast that. Now we're seeing the buff. Easy as that. Get some of these rolling, refresh our dots a little bit, which I probably shouldn't need to do, but I'm not paying much attention to my rotation at the moment, so don't judge me too much. Now we can see exactly how much time is remaining on our main DPS cooldown, which is very important for a number of reasons to any DPS. But now we can see whenever this goes on. It's going to go off cooldown here, or that it's going to be on cooldown, and there we go. Now it's on cooldown. We can see all of that in one nice, neat little icon. And that's pretty much the gist of this, guys. This is, I mean, TellMeWhen is really easy to use. It just can be intimidating at first because of the sheer number of options you can have to work with. All right, so let's jump over to some different characters of mine and look at some examples. Let's log out here and let's jump over to my mage for now, and we'll take a look at some of the stuff here that I have set up to work across multiple specs. As soon as this loads in here, well, I'm in Draenor. Interesting. All right. So let's open up the same way. TellMeWhen. And boy, doesn't that look like a cluster. Fortunately, most of this stuff doesn't show up. But so here, let's take a look at these guys here. So here's some meta icons. These two big ones here, and these are all pulling data off of this big meta brick up here, this huge grid of icons. So this top icon here are my cooldowns, be it combustion, arcane power, or icy veins. Shows me the buff, and then it shows me the cooldown of combustion, arcane power, or icy veins. Similarly down here, this is showing me my artifact ability. So here we have, it's showing me the debuff on the target for Mark of Alaneth, if I were playing Arcane. And then underneath that, it shows me the cooldown on Phoenix Flames, Mark of Alaneth, and Ebon Bolt. Does the exact same, or serves the exact same purpose as what we just did with Incarnation on the Balance Druid. We've got all kinds of stuff here, tracking cooldowns, dots, debuffs, buffs, trinkets even. What all we got? Tracking Concordance of Legion Fall, tracking the buff from my artifact weapon for the extra crit, all this kinds of good stuff. And, well, like I said already, it's really just following the exact same format that we just learned how to use. There is some one interesting thing. So here I'm tracking Ignite, not because you need to, just because I like to see what my Ignite is ticking at. So I'm tracking Ignite. It's a buff debuff icon. Ignite on the target, it's a debuff only cast by me. Now here's something interesting. Because of the way that it reads data from the icon, if I just select this, where it says stacks, the default behavior, it's just going to show me the duration remaining on Ignite. But I want to see the actual number. So if I check this box here, where it says aura variables, it's like the first non-zero variable. Now it will show me the actual amount remaining on my Ignite. All right, and that's one of those things you just kind of got to fiddle around with and figure out how it works, but that's how Ignite works. And that's also how most shields will work as well, or barriers in this case. So here's my mage barriers, ice barrier, prismatic barrier, and blazing barrier. These do the exact same thing. First we're tracking the buff and showing the shield value. All right, so spell cooldowns, shield value for the buff, aura variables, first non-zero variable. Easy as that. And then it combines into a meta icon to show here. All right. One more thing I do want to show you, which is on my Warlock, and this is just kind of tracking conditions and things, is how to, or mostly for dots. And this is super important for Affliction just because of the way dot refreshing works, which I'm not going to bother explaining, just you have to take my word for it. So open up TellMeWhen again. So we got all my dots I'm tracking here: Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, and Unstable Affliction. So we look at Agony real quick here. Same deal as always. Buff, debuff, tracking Agony, tracking it on the target. It's a debuff, only cast by me. Good. Show timer text. Now I'm showing some conditions, or showing some notifications here. So the first notification is an activation border that is only showing on when the remaining time on Agony reaches a certain threshold. And that threshold is whenever it's less than 5.4 seconds, for reasons for just how dot refreshing works in the game. So every time the dot falls below or has less than 5.4 seconds remaining, it's going to light up and play indefinitely until the icon disappears. Or it's going to be showing this animation right here. But this one here on duration threshold is going to stop animations, and whenever the duration is greater than 5.4 seconds, it will no longer show them. Okay? Same thing with Agony, and Agony's a little bit, with Corruption. Corruption's a little bit different because of the one talent, the one that makes your corruption permanent. So I wanted it to make sure it showed me that, showed me this exact same thing like Agony just did, but if it's permanent, well, it kind of messes with the way the animations work, so I created these event conditions. And this is some more like advanced kind of stuff. So it's only going to show me if the, it's only going to trigger if the duration is less than 4.2 seconds, which is the same idea as with Agony, and if the talent is learned corruption, or the absolute corruption. And then similarly, we can go back and check the conditions for this one. So it's going to stop the animation if it's greater than, if the duration is greater than 4.2 seconds and absolute corruption is learned. Okay, and then that just kind of makes that function a little bit easier. Same thing with this, same with that. And then it's all following, again, the exact same thing. Tracking buffs and debuffs on myself, combining them with meta icons. There you go. It's super duper easy. It just kind of, you just got to take the time and figure it out. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle till you get everything sorted out, moved around, put in groups where you want them to be, and then just kind of continuously tweaking it. And that's super important as well, continuously tweaking it. So that's going to conclude the tutorial part of how to use TellMeWhen and set it up for yourself. But if you want to download somebody else's profile, you can easily do that, and that's what we're going to show you in part 3 here, or coming up in this next section, so stick around with me. Finally, we're going to learn how to import profiles. So, to show you how to do this, I'm going to be using the limited amount of profiles I have available to download, and currently at the time of recording this, that is limited to Mage and Warlock. So, first step that I'm going to be doing for this is going to be going to my personal website here, and then going to interfaces. And once this loads, which could be a while because my internet sometimes is excruciatingly slow, we're going to be scrolling down here, and I'm going to go, for this particular example, and click Warlock for Warlock profiles. I'm going to load it again. Now here we go. Now we've got Warlock all nice and loaded. And now, TellMeWhen profile. So, quite simply, we're going to click Download here. And this is going to open up a Word document in this particular case, which you can see here. And all we're going to do, this is just some jumbled up mess, and it sure is. So I'm just going to click Control A and then Control C. So I just highlighted it all with Control A and then Control C, just copied it. So now we're going to go back into WoW. So now with this, I'm going to type in /TMW, and you can see I have another bear profile here all of a sudden on my Warlock, and we're just going to import to that. So we're going to open up the settings where it says General, and here we have Warlock TMW import. Now down here at the very bottom, there's this little text box here. It says Import, Export, and Restore. With that, with the cursor active in that, we're then going to press Control V to copy, or to paste, sorry. We're going to paste what we just copied from that big, huge text string into there. So now that's all in there. Now we click Import, Export, and Restore. We're going to import from string, all right? So the profile is, this particular one is me. So Zeos, which is my Warlock, Whisperwind, and then we're going to say copy profile, and I created a separate one, and you may want to do the same thing as well. Create like a dummy profile, just so you can keep whatever one you have at the moment if you've done anything to it. If not, it doesn't really matter too much. So again, that's clicking import, going to from string, select the profile you would like to import, which is the actual character, and I'm going to say overwrite Warlock TellMeWhen profile, which is done, and boom. There it is. There is my exact interface, just as you saw it. And it's as easy as that. Now the other thing is the global icons, and for those you need to go back to interfaces. So because those are not included, obviously, in the profiles, I do have them separate, and they are right down at the bottom of this selection for TellMeWhen profile. Well, now this is playing. This video is auto-playing. That's cute. My own videos are playing in my own video. It's a little bit weird. So same thing down here. So all we did was click global TellMeWhen profile, open. Now here's the next one. I'm gonna do the same thing. Now I'm not going to do this to follow through with this because I can't get rid of this for the video, but it'll be the same exact format that you just did. So we Control A, and then Control C to copy it, open WoW back up. Then we can go in here. We're gonna Control A again just to highlight that, and then press delete. From that's the profile, and now we're going to press Control V to paste in the global profile. Follow the exact same thing, import from string, and then you just do all of the same exact stuff again. Now this, you import the groups by the looks of it. I mean, obviously I can't test this stuff out too much by myself, so I'm a little bit learning here on the fly, but you would then be able to, it looks like, import these global groups individually as you wanted to. So it's probably just as simple as that, and then you're done and just follow this exact same thing again. And that's how you do any of that kind of stuff. If you wanted to share it, if you wanted to share your profile with like somebody else that you're playing with or something, you would just go export, and then if you were targeting somebody, you know, to player or whatever, and then you just give it to them, and then they can import it themselves. Super duper easy. But that's all that there is to it for importing and exporting your own TellMeWhen profiles. So that's going to conclude this video. I'm sorry it took so long to finally put this video out there, but with finals at the end of the year and then the holidays and everything, I'm just now getting time again to upload some content to YouTube. So I hope this video helped you guys out, and I know I already plugged for myself once at the beginning of this video, but I guess I'll do it again for those of you who stuck around. If you liked the video, or if you disliked it, leave me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you want to see more content like this, feel free to hit the subscribe button down below so that you're more up to date with what's going on. And I'd love to hear your comments down in the comment section as well. But please, little asterisk next to that last statement, your questions about TellMeWhen, try and keep them reasonable, okay? It's really hard sometimes to figure out, when someone asks a question, figure out exactly what it is they want. So try and be specific if you do ask a question, but please, still, I do encourage you ask questions, or, you know, help others out and that kind of thing. So anyhow, before I talk anymore, I'm gonna get on out of here, guys. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.